The biggest prizes on the World of Sport Footy Panel.
And we welcome you once again to the World of Sport Westpac Footy Panel. We're missing Kevin Bartlett, who's gone to find a chair, but we do have Lou Richards, Bob Skilton, Crackers Keenan, a vacancy, Peter McKenna, Sam Newman, Bob Davis, and, well, come on, KB, and Jack Dyer. Let's get straight into proceedings, ladies and gentlemen. Lou Richards, tell us all about. Sit down, Bob, KB.
Lou, working with Ridgeways at the moment, moving furniture.
Carlton's big win over North.
Well, it's possibly the best Carlton's played for years, and I think they certainly surprised North Melbourne. The very good crowd of 32,000 people there at the MCG on Friday night. They got their running game together. They had players running all over the ground, backing up well, and of course they had Madden, who dominated the ruck, and there's no doubt about it. Justin Madden has really blossomed as a ruckman since given the #1 berth in that position. And across the centre, Corcomelis and Glasgow absolutely were unbeatable, and that gave them a lot of drive. And we had McClure playing at centre half forward, and the older McClure gets, the better he seems to play. And when McClure's firing well, Carlton take a lot of stopping. But he is a great asset to the team. He's been a great player over the years, Mark McClure.
North with so many young fellas, Lou, were they due for a downer?
Well, I think they must have been, Bob. Well, as you say, they were due for a downer because of the fact that...
or is it the loss of Glendenning?
Well, I think they missed Glendenning because we all agree that he's one of the best marks in the business, plus the fact he can play at centre half back, centre half forward. And there's another guy I forgot to mention before. Reece Jones possibly played the best game he's played for the last couple of years. I think he was... well, he was the instigator of many goals and many moves further forward for Carlton. I was going to say something else about on the wing all day, and I think Jack Dyer would agree with me that you couldn't get past him. But the point I'm getting at too is, can I just say this about well, I've lost my train of thought that I was thinking about.
Because it was in the night.
I was going to say something about the question you asked me when you said no.
Were North due for a downer?
Yes, because I just think they were unbeaten for 7 matches. They had a tough game against Footscray when they dead-heated, when they lost by 2 points, and Hawthorn they dead-heated. I think it may have been working up to this bit of an anti-climax because they'd reached their pitch. Now, the big problem they've got to worry about out at North Melbourne is whether it'll do any damage to these young fellas. But knowing Kennedy, I think he admitted that it wouldn't happen. Yes, Sam.
Lou, can I have your votes, please?
Well, I can't remember them at the moment, but did they put the first... yeah, I gave 1 vote to Glasgow. I thought he played an exceptionally good game on the wing. 2 votes went to Justin Madden. As I said before, this fella's really blossomed now as a ruckman. Not only does he get the knockouts, but he can take quite a few good marks around the ground, which is important these days, well, you very rarely see ruckmen doing that as well as getting knockouts. And that's pretty important too. And I gave 3 votes to David Reece-Jones, easily the best player on the ground, and possibly the best game that David Reece-Jones has played for a couple of years.
Right, thank you, Lou, for that report. Coming up in just a moment, we'll look at the clash between Hawthorn and Essendon. Yesterday saw Essendon account for Hawthorn. Jack?
Yes, it started off very quietly, this game. It looked like it'd be locked in, they'd be locked in one another all the day sort of business, that, you know, they were going to follow one another around on the ground, and at quarter time there was nothing between the two of them at all, and it was a game where big Madden was trying to get back into form against, and he had a little young kid named Deere on him at that stage there, and it looked like he might take him apart, but strange as it may seem, Deere held his own in the centre, sentinel bounces, and Hawthorn was well in the game at quarter time, but it was the second quarter the damage was. Shooty threw a lot of the players right around the ground. One went to centre half back, that was of course the captain of the side, Danaher, and he really held the Hawthorn up there, and they started to fumble very badly at that stage there, and Madden took over in the ruck, and away they went. Hell broke loose.
Jack, how did the crowd receive Lee Matthews yesterday?
Well, it shows the sportsmanship of the Australian public, of course. He got booed every time he went near the ball, and it was a shame for a fellow that's won, I think, the Hawthorn best and fairest for 8 years just about in succession. I thought it was a shameful thing to have him booed around the ground like that. It was uncalled for, unnecessary. He played the game as it should be played, and he's one that I do admire in the game too, the same Matthews.
Jack, do you think it's put him off his game a little bit?
I think it did too, because he took the situation very badly, what happened, I believe, and it certainly did too. He wasn't his usual refreshful self, I would call him, the enthusiastic Lee Matthews. It wasn't wasn't quite there, I didn't think.
Were you
yesterday.
surprised when they put Rene Kink onto Matthews?
Yes, I was very surprised indeed, but he's playing so well at the present time.
You were surprised?
Yeah, I was very surprised indeed, because he's playing so well at the present time. Kink's playing pretty well
Yes,
too
he
at the
is.
same time, and Matthews was playing a little bit badly, and he was chased up the field by Kink. They all did a good job. Yes, if you can't play with Essendon at the present time, you can't play football.
Jack, over the last couple of years, Hawthorn and Essendon have dominated the competition, but do you think now that Essendon have really opened the gap up between themselves and Hawthorn?
I think at the present time we'll say this, that there's a gap's been opened between these two sides, but I think that Hawthorn can win against them this year. One game, I think. They can sneak a game here, but what game it's going to be, I don't know. If they get in the finals, they might sneak one in there, because they've got the players there. It's a matter of them playing well at the present time.
Jack, would this be the best Essendon side, or the best team? Now, let me finish this. The best team you've ever seen?
I wouldn't say that, Lou, but as I said, when you look at their big men, they're playing big men football now. That Big Merritt now is looking after the young fellas, the little smarties, you know, the smart fellas, you know, them little rovers that run around. He's looking after them, letting them through the holes all the time. He's kicking a few goals himself. Madden's dominating the ruck.
Is there a chink in their armour at all, Jack?
Yes, I think there's 3 or 4 chinks there, but you've got to go find one. And you haven't got the players on the other side to find them. That's the trouble, Bob.
Well, will you reveal to the
Can you
coaches
reveal them?
What?
What's
they got to reveal them to him? They're going to pick a good player to put on one of their good players. Sheedy's got another dozen good players sitting back there, so all he does is get another one.
Chinks in their armour?
Well, I don't, not at the present. When they got all the big men playing well, they got Foles playing brilliantly.
Will Salmon come back into the side?
Well, I wouldn't put him back for just a while. He held on to that leg yesterday.
Jack, if there's no chinks or any japs there.
Really, but he wasn't moving fast yesterday.
Jack, could I have your votes, please?
Yes, Song, he played well. You've said about the chink.
Your votes, please.
Will you put him up there, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
Roger, you gave one to Roger.
I gave one to Roger Merritt. He kicked 5 goals himself. Also, he made 3 holes for the 3 Rovers coming through. They went straight into an open goal, which he should have got on his side and made 8 for him. Baker, here's one Bob. He's a very handy footballer. A very handy footballer, this fella. He doesn't miss goals when he goes up towards the goal.
You're a good judge of him, Bob.
Yes.
But, you know, he's one of the ones that, you know, that could be held if you put your mind to it. Who's the last one?
Well, it was
Timmy Watson, yes. He did. Timothy Watson, he's played exceptionally well. He's back to his top form again, and he's one of the key position players of the side.
Right, thank you, Jack, for that report. We shall take a break from the Westpac footy panel and be back in a moment to look at the clash house at Victoria Park.
I know there.
From Adidas. Adidas Starlight. Rotterdam. Adidas Web. Centaur. And Fire. This year, the technically superior running shoes are Adidas.
Where will you be financially 20 years from now? An important question that concerns us all in these turbulent financial times. And Radio 1026 3DB wants to help. On Sunday, June 30th and Monday, July the 1st, commencing at 11 a.m, we present our Finance and Investment Expo at the Melbourne Hilton Hotel. Special guest speakers will be in attendance, including Shadow Treasurer Mr. John Howard. The Radio 1026 3DB Finance and Investment Expo. All you need to know about your financial future.
Bob Skilton, Fitzroy got the points against the Sydney Swans. Tell us about that clash.
Yes, well, there wasn't a great deal to talk about as far as the quality of the first half of the game was concerned, but in defence of the players, I understand that the ground might have looked okay, but underfoot it completely moved, apparently, and the players just couldn't handle the conditions well. Dennis Carroll there, we see the headband on Dennis Carroll. He was the only Swans player to really play consistently all day. For a brief period in the third term, Tony Morwood almost turned the game, and he kicked 5 goals for the match, in which I think 3 of them came in that third quarter. But all in all, Fitzroy, through the agency of players like Gary Pert, Tim Pekin went on to Paul Hawke, and in recent weeks Hawke has been a dominating player for the Swans, but Pekin put Hawke out of business. Hughes has been an excellent player in the centre. There's Hughes now, but he was put out of business by Turner. And these moves came off for Fitzroy, but in a very, very poor standard game, Fitzroy had a little bit more up forward.
Do you reckon that the pace of Fitzroy found out Ironmonger yesterday, Bobby?
No, I don't think it was Fitzroy's pace. The number of times that Ironmonger was the only player to touch the ball and yet he didn't hold his marks. But as John Reid said, he's had an excellent year. In fact, would probably win their best and fairest if it was counted right now. So maybe you just can't expect players to play well every week.
Big Barry Round?
Round did his job. He certainly didn't let the side down, and when he went into the ruck, he was very responsible in getting them back into the game.
Why, Bob, was it a poor game? Why was the standard so poor?
The number of times that the players handballed to the opposition, Jack.
Kicked to the opposition?
They did everything wrong. It was unbelievable at times. You would have thought that they were colourblind.
Bob, you said the ground moved. What was the measurement on the Richter scale? Did you, what did you mean by the ground moving?
Lou, I made the comment during the game that the ground had more sand on it than the Port Melbourne beach. And
that's got none.
Underneath it's just, underneath it's quite heavy. A lot of
Port Melbourne beach.
A lot of water, and they just sprinkled sand right over the top of the ground, and it didn't look too bad, but underfoot, very, very hard to hold their footing.
Well, thank you.
Bobby, your votes, please.
I gave one vote yesterday to Gary Pert. He was an excellent player, whether in defence or in the last quarter. They threw him onto the forward line, and he was a match winner there for them. 2 votes to Dean Turner. Dominated the wing, for the centre, I should say, from start to finish. And 3 votes, best man on the ground. He may have had 16 stitches in his head and playing with one of those rugby-style headbands, but Dennis Carroll was an excellent player for every minute of the game.
Thank you, Bob Skilton, for that report. Coming up in just a moment, Kevin Bartlett looks at the game between Geelong and Footscray.
You know, every national TV and video recorder you buy today will still be under warranty in 1988, and that's a very big warranty.
Hey, Darren, how do you know what Kim Hughes will face in South Africa? Dean, who told you Robbie Waterhouse will be back in 2 years? Right, you read it in Your Sport, Australia's only monthly sports magazine. This month, Alan Ayler tells it's tough at the top. Stephen Phillips on soccer, Peter Ellis on Peter Thompson, Balmain's Frank Stanton, basketball's Adrian Hurley, and we preview Wimbledon, the Admiral's Cup, the Australian Grand Prix, plus TV Sports Guide and Sports Trivia. If we took you any closer, you'd get hurt.
Monday nights, Brooke Shields is Tilt, the cutest, hottest little pinball freak you'll ever meet. Ken Marshall has the dream. Charles Downing is the wizard to beat. Tilt, your premiere Monday movie, 8:30 on Channel 7. This ice is hot, and the detective is dynamite. Peter Sellers is everyone's favourite Frenchman.
Before Geelong could kick a goal. That came around about the 16-minute mark of the first quarter, and then Geelong rammed home their advantage, and in actual fact they led at quarter time. In the last quarter, well, I mean, let's face it, there was only 7 points the difference at three-quarter time. It was anyone's game. But unfortunately for Geelong, they just fiddled around on their half-forward line. They got the ball down there, and they just wasted their opportunities. Footscray, on the other hand, they had Simon Beasley at full forward. He was far too big for Tui. He kicked 7 goals. He had Bamblett on the half-forward line, a tremendous opportunist. And every time Footscray needed a goal, it was either Bamblett or Beasley who put it through.
Number 5 for Geelong, kicked 5 goals, 8. Does he have a shot too far out? You know, like he's kicked 5 goals, I know it's bad kicking, but does he try too far out? He's 60 or 70 yards out when he has some shot somewhere.
Well, he can kick a long way, Crackers, and no, I don't think he kicks from too far out. I think he actually has more time to steady to kick for goal than what he actually thinks he has. And in that first quarter, I think he kicked 4 or 5 points. He kicked 6 points before he even kicked a goal. And he hurries his kicking a little bit, Gary Ablett, and I feel that he's got explosive pace. He could really accelerate for another 5 metres, get steadied, and then kick a goal.
Is that really the difference between the game? Beasley kicking 7 straight. If Ablett, I mean, I know it's an if situation, but really Geelong should have won the game, perhaps.
Well, certainly the difference between the two sides was the fact that Ablett did kick poorly. I mean, kicked 5 goals, 10, and he had 6 behinds on the board before he even scored a goal. So I agree with you there, Sam. I think Geelong were a bit unlucky.
If he's not steadying, as you just suggested, isn't that the fault of the players around him to tell him that he's got plenty of time?
I think you're right there, Bob. I think that Geelong, on lots of occasions in that final quarter, when they got the ball up onto the half-forward line, on several occasions their players steadied to kick the ball, only to be dragged down by the Footscray defence, who were, you know, very desperate, and that was just poor talk. And this is where Geelong lost all their opportunities in that last quarter, across that half-forward line. They had the ball there, they just couldn't capitalise.
Can they make the 5, Geelong? Or will they make the... Well, let's say it that way.
Well, the 5th spot's a very open one. I think Carlton, Geelong and Collingwood certainly, and Fitzroy, still have a bit of a chance. But looking at Geelong yesterday, I must say that considering the injuries that they have got down there, that they performed pretty well, because let's face it, Footscray now is 6 points clear in 2nd spot. So Geelong are not too bad, and what they really need is someone at full forward, because unfortunately Alderdice, I was looking forward to seeing Alderdice play, but he performed poorly yesterday. Flanagan also was a poor performer. I know a lot of the panel here not that keen on Jackson at full forward, and of course he won't be back for a long time, but he does kick goals, and yesterday if Jackson could have kicked a few goals. Burke, he's a very promising player, I think. Burke, he did very well in the ruck. Took a couple of marks too. I think this has been a weak part of his game. He hasn't been able to take too many marks, but I think they found a player of the future.
Kevin, your votes, please.
Well, these are Peter McKenna's votes, actually. He gave 1 vote to Doug Hawkins. Played a very good game, Doug, in the centre against Greg Williams. 2 votes to Stevie Wallace. And also 3 votes to Gary Ablett, because he played a magnificent game. He started on Peter Foster, completely eclipsed Foster. Neil Cordy went on to Ablett. Did a very good job, but he was really unstoppable.
Right, thank you, KB, for that report. Coming up in just a moment, Sam Newman looks at the clash between Melbourne and Collingwood.
Oh, listen, if you're fishing for a boat, you don't want to miss Australia's greatest collection of cruisers, sailboards, yachts and ski boats. Oh, and the America's Cup Yacht Kookaburra. They're all at the Herald National Boat Show. It starts July the 4th at the exhibition buildings. It's the best place in Australia to fish for boats. I'll catch you there. Sorry.
When you fit mufflers for a living, you have to do a better job. At Midas, we're muffler specialists. We give a fair price, a fixed quote, fast service, a 3-year written guarantee, and we only fit quality mufflers. You see, at Midas, mufflers aren't a sideline, they're our business. So, when your muffler snuffs it, take it to Midas, the muffler specialists.
Right, welcome back to the Westpac footy panel. Sam, tell us about Collingwood's big win over Melbourne.
Yes, well, the grand old flag is in tatters at Melbourne because they had nothing yesterday. They were shocking. They played without any attitude at all. They were very slack in their approach to trying to pick up the players. And at one stage, Collingwood, one player came out from the Collingwood backline, bounced it 4 times, hand passed it 7 times. It did, not the Collingwood player, but it went to 7 different people without any Melbourne player getting within anywhere near at all their opponents. And that was the story.
Forwards or back of them to stop them?
Well, that was one of the things. They ran at them and just popped it over, which is a cardinal
Should go back.
Pardon?
Should go back.
You shouldn't go at all towards them. You should always stay with your own man. Anyhow, Collingwood will be very gratified that they've found some form, a morale-boosting win for them. Batterson there played, was one of the few good players for Melbourne, as was Zantuck in the back line. There's young Newport, I think that is, or Newport. He just played an ordinary game, as they all did. Templeton started off in magnificent form, kicked 3 goals in the first 3 minutes. Then kicked 2 other goals for the rest of the game, none after half-time. And this is the thing about Melbourne. They just cannot go on with the football at all, and it is really...
Talk about the winning side. What about Taylor?
Well, Brian Taylor, to his credit, and I just mentioned this before, that Taylor was taken from the ground. He was playing shocking football, undisciplined football. He gave a goal away when Barham kicked it because he infringed on his opponent. Rose took him off the ground, spoke to him on the fence, and put him back on the ground, and Taylor responded, kicked 3 goals. There's Tony Shaw gave 2 goals to Richardson, just like that, hand pass to him. And when a player like Richardson, who is a great player, but nevertheless not I wouldn't say actually goes in very hard to get the ball, and that's nothing against Richardson. That's not his style of play. He is an opportunist, but when he can kick 6 goals and in the manner he did yesterday, this shows there is very little opposition. That's nothing against Richardson. He's a great player.
Didn't they have anyone following Richardson? Are they not carrying out the duties of a coach down there, Brassy, or something like that? Didn't they have anyone following Richardson, kicking 7 goals, or
I can tell you,
following someone else at all?
Certainly not carrying out the duties that the coaches asked them at all. You could not play football like that and mean it. I've got a list of about 15 moves here. 15 moves that I wrote down throughout the course of the game, and I just couldn't keep up with it at the end. I had to concentrate on what was happening
Well,
in the game.
are there too many coaches making moves?
Well, I think there's only one man that's responsible for the moves, and that is Ron Barassi. And he did try very hard yesterday to try and change the pattern of the game. He had no success at all in that department, but nevertheless he did try and do something to get Melbourne into the game.
Sam, a couple of weeks ago you suggested that St Kilda would win more games in the second half. How do you see Melbourne's situation? Can they win more games now?
Well, look, on yesterday's form, I could not see Melbourne winning another game. If you go through the other 10 sides in the competition, have they played St Kilda twice already? I'm not sure.
No, they've got to play them again.
Well, I tell you what, that'll be a monumental performance and monumental tussle that wherever it's played, because those two...
St Kilda already lost 2 out of 2 since you said that.
He's reversed that.
St Kilda would be playing with far more spirit than Melbourne at this stage, and that is Melbourne's problem. They have probably on paper quite good players, but Ron Barassi, whether it's his fault or not, no, I would say on yesterday's performance it wasn't, has completely lost that side. They are not playing for him, for themselves, for the club, for anyone. They are just turning up each Saturday.
Are they good enough?
Melbourne? Yeah.
You're saying that they've lost it. Like, have they got the ability anyway?
They mightn't have had it.
Well, you know, how do you define potential? It is a very difficult thing to define, but on yesterday's performance, they won't win another game for the rest of the year, and rightly so.
Votes, please, Sam.
Yes, one vote to Greg Phillips. He started at centre-half back, was moved to full-back when Templeton kicked 3 goals and didn't get a lot of statistics crackers, but he played very well there and didn't let Templeton kick a goal on him. He got 3 kicks, I think, as a matter of fact. I gave 2 votes to Jeff Rains, played out of the centre, and a welcome return to form from him. Kicked, how many goals did he kick? He kicked 2 goals, but was instrumental in a lot of others. And Tony Shaw, who played, perhaps dropped it off a bit in the 3rd quarter, but played very good football for most of the day, and was instrumental in giving a lot of his teammates opportunity to goal, and he kicked for himself.
Coming up after this break, St Kilda, Richmond.
Richmond went on from 11 points at quarter time to lead by 56 points at 3/4 time. That was a true indication of the game, except that there were a few rather fiery incidents, I should say, in the game, and Jimmy Jess returned to the football fold in the seniors, and he made his presence felt. There's no 2 ways about that. He did make a few silly handballs. Fashini there felt the wrath of Jimmy Jess a couple of times, and I'd say this about coaches today. I don't know why Fashini he made an obvious error, but he was one of the best players on the ground. He was taken from the ground for about 3 minutes. If you have a good player playing well, surely you could admonish him at either the quarter, half-time or 3/4 time break. Not taking
the runners for that.
Well, I think so, you know, but to take him from the ground. This is Francis, who played a marvellous game.
Taylor, Bob.
What?
Bob Rose said that was Taylor. And
Taylor wasn't playing well. Fashini was one of the best players on the ground. There's a big difference. If the fella's playing badly, yes, you can take him off because you're going to get someone on who may improve. But Fashini was one of the good players, and they don't have that many good players in Kilda, unfortunately. Morwood was magnificent yesterday. There's Fashini there now. And one of the funniest things that I've ever seen, Fashini got laid out. The umpire Robertson stopped the game. They brought out the stretcher. Greg Burns said to Fashini, "Get up." Yeah. And so Fashini got up, run over to the boundary, collapsed over the boundary line. The stretcher bearers went and got the stretcher, put him on, then carried him right around the ground.
I thought you were going to say Burns jumped on the stretcher.
No.
Some bloke had a bad leg. Bob, can Richmond go on from here at all? They're still in touch with
Richmond have got some very good players. I mean, yesterday Rioli was magnificent. I thought Francis played very well. The fellow number 43, he's a very good player. James, very good player. Poole's a very good player. Krebins came on and didn't
go in the run.
No, Barling's just he inside, but had no real effect on the game. But I think Richmond, I don't know how well they play together as a team, but they have excellent players there. And now that there's been a resurgence and some open truth spoken about them, I think that could well pick them up and give them a good lift.
St Kilda have already appointed Graham Jelly for 1986. Do you see any future for the Saints?
I don't think there's any problem with Graham Jelly. I think he's quite a good coach. And I think yesterday that some of the younger players are improving, but as I said to Jimmy O'Day, there aren't sufficient senior players there to lead,
set the example,
to give the young fellas enough to keep them up all the time. The biggest thing that you have with young players is that if they do make a mistake, there's no one to give them a lead and show them what to do. And young fellas, they may play magnificent games one week, the next week they're down a little bit, but you must persevere, then you must have the good players giving them the way home.
What do you think then, Bob, of St Kilda acquiring Mark Buckley? And there's talk maybe even Marku or Honeybun could even finish up at St Kilda.
No, Honeybun's going home. Honeybun's going home. Marku may change his solution.
Is that good for St Kilda?
Well, I think that Buckley's not a bad player, could play well there. But as for Marku, I don't know about him. I don't think that Marku would be any great shakes for them.
Bob, your votes, please.
The votes, I gave one vote to Morwood, who was very sure in everything that he did and gave great, well, I suppose, display of putting the ball where it was necessary to go. Unfortunately, didn't have enough good players around him for them to work on it. I gave 2 votes to Francis, whether he played half-back or in the back line or going up. He finished up with a goal. He played very well, Peter Francis. And 3 votes to Rioli, who showed that he is a genuine champion. Yes, he got laid out with an unnecessary blow, but he got up again.
Not one of those. In the play?
Don't tell much. Well, I don't think it was really necessary at all.
Don't tell much.
And he got up, kicked the goal beautifully, and then swung around and did one with the right foot.
Weren't Morwood and Rioli minding each other?
Yeah. No, they weren't, as a matter of fact.
I checked.
That's all right, but you weren't there. They weren't.
Right, thank you, gentlemen. We shall take a break and be back with our Westpac draw and to check the awards in just a moment.
The Commodore, as it turns over 150,000 kilometres, will still be going as strong as the day you bought it. Terry Vine, the Melbourne Sun. You'll smile broadly every time you pull up at a Bowser. This is a car Australians can be proud of. Modern Motor magazine. The Commodore has more equipment, more comfort, more technology and more value. Paul Higgins, syndicated motor writer.
It's unique, it's hysterical, and it's brand new. The funniest man in Australia plays host to some of the funniest acts and people in the world. It's totally off the planet. Laugh yourself silly with Graham Kennedy's World of Comedy, Thursday night at 8:30 on 7.
Time now to check the voting in the rich World of Sport Adidas Award, and we find Jim Cracker of North Melbourne leading with 19 votes. Paul Roos of Fitzroy, 13 in second spot. Gary Ablett and Tim Watson are on 12. Matthew Larkin of North on 11. 3 players on 10. Mark Harvey, Terry Wallace and Stephen Wallace.